All right, thank you, Joe. Hopefully we'll run through this fairly quickly. There's luckily not a lot of changes going on our WMAs. A quick overview. Our folks, this agency, I think, does an amazing job with the acreage that we have. We're looking at active management on almost 1.5 million acres of land with a variety of partnerships, obviously with our agency, TDEC, TDF, the Forest Service, who Mary Miller's here today, just fantastic partners, Corps of Engineers, a variety of folks that help us manage these lands and help us do a really nice job. Land covering quite a bit of an area. What we try to do is offer as much opportunity as we possibly can without hurting the resource or the habitats themselves. In trying to do that and provide consistency for understanding is having statewide seasons. And so if a WMA, if it makes sense to have a WMA open to statewide county seasons, we just want that WMA to be open with the standard county regulations. And we've successfully done that on about 80% of our the WMAs that we have right now. There are some exceptions where we want to do some different things. Some of those are restricted or closed seasons, additional hunts, special hunts, dove hunts, etc. And then we have the occasion to offer quota big game hunts for various reasons. Sometimes it's for a special opportunity like on President's Island, and some of the things that we're going to see today, which is a little bit going into a protective mode for our quota hunts, what we will see with some of our turkey proposals that we have today. Most of what you've got, this proclamation is by far the largest of all of our proclamations that we present, but most of the red line ink that you see is standard date changes, calendar shifts, those types of things. We have the occasion for some routine wording, corrections, clarifications, and then we've tried to note with this presentation some of the more significant changes that we are proposing. Looking at the statewide, which is the first page of that document, we really only have one statewide change, one significant statewide change, and this is getting at the pin-reared bird issue. And so we're asking for a ban of the recent release of pin-reared upland birds, and we do have an exception for our traditional field trial areas at Percy Priest and Tellico Lake, and that's just trying to be better off for our natural birds that are out there, so we don't have any of those issues going on. Moving into our within the regions, looking at what's going on within regions. Region 1, lots of wetland areas out in Region 1. The first thing we're going to talk about is Barkley Unit 1 is removing that archery restriction, which if you remember we put it in last year because they were working on the pump, and so that work has been done. So now we're opening that back up to all of our hunting opportunities. We did have some issues at Pagoda and Horns Bluff, so there's been some additional restrictions on when you can be on that WMA to reduce some waterfowl disturbance and hunter conflict issues. And then we've had some extraordinarily popular waterfowl sites that are having some trouble with lots of waterfowl pressure and also some conflicts associated with that pressure. And there's the desire to put Gooch, Unit E, Meeman Shelby, White Oak, the Lebanon Field of White Oak, into our computer draw system that we have for waterfowl blinds at this point. John Tully is looking to do a couple restrictions on their antlerless harvest, worried about their deer population out there. And they're also doing, which I think is an interesting concept, they're doing some handheld draws for their waterfowl out there, which allows for some great opportunities for the hunters, and they're willing to take that task on, so it should be some good opportunity for the hunters out there. Thorny Cypress is opening some new walk-in areas for waterfowl hunters. And White Oak opening a new dove hunt in that part. And then Wolf River, which is going to be one of our focal areas for the dove plan, is closing quail hunting on that area right now. The dog training will remain, but right now until we kind of get our ideas moving forward on exactly where we're going with our how we're going to monitor all of our dove focal areas, we wanted to close Wolf River for that one. But they did add a youth turkey hunt for that area. One of the biggest changes red ink through the Region 1 WMAs is dealing with the WMAs that are in floodplain areas, the Mississippi River floodplain, the Obion River floodplain, and some others. where the turkey populations get flooded out, you know, and they're not doing very well. They have a tendency to fluctuate quite a bit. And so we wanted to put some quota hunts to reduce some of that pressure. And so we wanted to put these quota hunts on these areas. So we had much more control over how many hunters are on there, and hopefully then how many birds we could start taking off that area. Be more conservative in that. What's in your book is we're still working on the language, and it will probably change. And so what I'm going to describe is more the intent of what you'll see, I think, in May. But what's written in your books almost comes out as individual WMA regulations. But really what we're trying to do is there's an Upper Obion River complex, which includes Bean Switch, Hop-In, Manus Swamp, Gooch, Obion River, and Three Rivers, which are all right there together. And so it's one big hunt complex. And in that hunt complex, the intent is to have a hunter quota of 100. And so, and then have 2 3-day hunts to have the control of those areas. One bird, and it counts toward the statewide bag. So we're basically using multiple WMAs with one permit, but the hunters, if they're drawn for that hunt, will then be allowed to hunt any one of those areas. Does that make sense? There's going to be a pagoda complex, which is a little bit smaller, which is essentially pagoda and tumbleweed together. Very similar concept, a much smaller quota because of much smaller areas. And then same with earnest rice. It's going to be earnest rice and thorny cypress together, and you'll be able to draw for that. And then we're adding, and I put this in quotes, standard quota hunts, because this will be for individual hunts, quota hunts. And John Tully already has quota hunts. We're just amending those a little bit. But we'll add just a standard hunt for John Tully, a standard for Moss Island, and a standard for White Lake. Does that make we okay? I see a lot of people looking through their their books.
Any members of the commission with any questions?
Because that's Region 1 there.
Yep. Hold on one second.
I
Commissioner
didn't know
Teague.
the proper time to get in. The restrictions for the refuges in Region 1, what time is that proposed? 3 o'clock or?
It was more of a overnight time. I think it is a 5. It gets people off the area by 5 in the afternoon, and they can't show back up until 4 the next morning. So I think they're having people basically camping out through the evening. Is that right, Alan?
For which areas?
The areas, the
Pagoda and Horns Bluff.
And
It said time restriction,
yeah, Pagoda and Horns
time
Bluff.
restriction.
After 5.
and it was, thank you so much for using the mic. I appreciate it.
The duck hunters can't be on the area after 5 o'clock p.m. Oh, excuse me, between 5 p.m. and 4 a.m. the next hunt day, there's no events on the area.
You can't camp out in a duck hole.
That's right. But you can't enter the area until 4 a.m. That
Some
make
things
sense?
you don't think need to be regulated, but you never know.
Commissioner, if you only knew.
I don't want to know. I sure don't want to camp out in Horns Bluff,
Commissioner,
no water.
Commissioner Teague, you good?
I think so.
Commissioner Cox?
The quail closing on Wolf River, is that a timed closure, how many years, or is that gonna be permanent? I'm a little squirrely about
No.
closing hunting, and I understand why, but there's a lot of pressure down there, but
Right. No, it is definitely with full intention. All of our focal areas, we want to, the intent of the focal areas is to have quality quail hunting opportunities with growing populations that spill into the surrounding areas with hunting in place. So right now, we need to get, there's some areas, and we'll see it in some of the other, like Region 3 is doing some closures as well, that we just want to get our quail populations in check, know exactly what's going on those areas, and then we'll put that harvest back on. And so, and it may be most likely would be in some sort of restricted fashion, a quota hunt or some other type of a conservative measure, not a
maybe
statewide.
2 weeks instead of a month or something like that.
Correct. But yeah, the full intent is to have that. I can't give you a time frame of when that would open back up, but it would open back up within the quail plan written for that area.
All right, the pen-raised birds, we're doing the WMAs. That was, the Percy Priest was the only, or whatever you addressed on that. That had anything to do with private lands.
No,
Okay.
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Great. Any other questions?
Okay.
Great, thanks.
All right, let's move on to all of Region 1. Here we go to Region 2. Headwaters, which we proclaimed and opened last year, essentially there's just a few additional regulations on how access and opportunities there. And then Laurel Hill, to go in line with what Roger presented with some of the current conservative measures that were taken in that part of the world, we've closed Laurel Hill to a fall turkey season. And that is all we have going on in Region 2. And so everything else is standard date changes. Region 3, Hiwassee is liberalizing some small game seasons. Rabbit and squirrel seasons are being liberalized. Uchee has added a spring turkey hunt. And then what we just talked about, some of the areas up on the plateau that have quail, but we're really trying to get them to take off. We felt it was best to close those seasons at this time until we can move forward with a more aggressive plan. And that is it for Region 3, and I don't think we have much more for Region 4, so I'll wrap this up. I forgot, yeah. And so at this point, if it's okay with the chair, I'd like to ask David Sams to come up and give an update. The commission requested an update on Lick Creek.
Great, excellent.
Okay.
Welcome. And I want to make sure I'm getting my titles right. I noticed that I did not call Dr. Anderson, so I want to be it takes a lot of effort to get the doctor before your name, so I want to be very sensitive to that.
He's like me, he's not a real doctor.
Well, any of you all who have preferences on your titles, I'm very interested in making sure I meet your preferences. So, yes, sir. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm, as they said, manager at Lick Creek Bottoms Wildlife Management Area, located in western Greene County. We just began a special hunt this last year with our waterfowl units. Not a very big area, but we've got 2 units. We open them up for Tuesdays and Saturdays, 30 minutes before sunrise till noon. I've had quite a bit of success this year. Hunter participation's been real well on our South Mohawk unit. Tuesdays, Saturdays, they seem to, we're having a good 10 or 12 vehicles every day. Hunters are giving me reports, and the hunters that I've checked, they're killing anywhere between 4, 17, 21 birds in their groups. So they're having for East Tennessee, a pretty good time on waterfowl hunting. It's nothing compared to what you do in West Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, but they are doing pretty good. We're having guys come in and they want to camp out also, but never been that mad at a duck that I've got to kill one, getting there at midnight to stay till shooting time. But to each their own. Our guys are pretty dedicated. They love what they do, and they enjoy it. But that's pretty much what we've got right now.
Excellent. I can only make a moment of personal privilege. I have been that mad at them, although I would be very respectful of the agents who have to deal with it and understand that that's not appropriate. But yes, sir, Commissioner. Former
I appreciate you coming down to
Dr.
address.
McMillan.
Jeff's fine. I appreciate you coming down because obviously it was former Commissioner Stout and I that wanted to discuss it, because at that time we talked about having a hand drawing or a computer draw or something. But were the same guys the ones that hunted every week?
Not really. We had probably around at least 40 different participants.
But you said something about camping out. Were you being
well,
sarcastic?
Well, we had it was different people that I had people that would show up at midnight to get there to try and get a spot, and a lot of times, early in the season, everybody has their own space, and they feel a little, I guess, overwhelmed when you've got that many people. South Mohawk unit, roughly around 25 acres. The Skinner unit, about 5 right now. We were unable to do any development on hunting units last summer due to the weather, as wet and rainy as everything was. We were able to finish our refuge up. Our we're 98 to 99% finished on our refuge portion, so now we can focus on more hunting units.
Do you have designated blind sites that they have to go, or they just go wherever they want?
It's just go and pick your spot.
Man,
And, I guess it's such a limited area, it's hard to put a draw in on something like that. I didn't have any complaints in regards, and I was expecting to have at least a few complaints. The hunters, for the most part, they seem just tickled to death to have a place to go. And I know when January started rolling around, they started working with each other better. I know that's kind of an oxymoron whenever you're talking about waterfowl hunters trying to work together when they didn't come together. I know several of the guys that, whenever they would get out there, they would talk to the other groups that showed up, and they got to working where they would get more birds in instead of sky busting or shooting somebody's swing, or let the birds get in, and then more birds were shot as they were coming out from the other guys, so.
so how many hunters are on 25 acres?
We would have groups of 2 or 3 come in. They would get a spot. We'd have, usually you're looking at anywhere between 10, 15 hunters, somewhere in that range.
All right, well, I appreciate your time to bring it. I mean, if y'all are happy with it, then I don't want to recommend any changes.
Well, hopefully we'll have more areas developed and allow a little bit more opportunity for the hunters to spread out a little bit more.
Well, thanks a lot.
Excellent.
you.
Okay, any other questions? Next, Dr. Anderson.
Great, it's fine. Thank you, David. Just finishing up Region 4 and going across our state here. Chuck Swan opened up some summer coyote opportunities, public comment. They were looking for that opportunity. We're providing that. North Cumberland, just out of as conservative measures, they're looking at pulling their deer hunts back a little bit and then closing their fall turkey seasons, just to be a little more conservative on their populations up there. And then also on several of the WMAs, for some safety reasons, they brought forward requiring small game hunters during big game hunts big game gun hunts to wear blaze orange. And that's going to be on foothills, Henderson Island, Kiker, Kyles Ford, and Lip Creek. And I believe that concludes the WMA recommendations, and I would be happy to take any questions on that.
Any questions? Excellent. Oh, Commissioner King, we have a gentleman from the public. Any other commissioners with any questions? Otherwise, we'll move to public comment. One, if you wouldn't mind to just sit in the front row momentarily. Commissioner Bledsoe.
Thank you. And I guess I'm directing this more towards John Mayer than you.
Okay, I like it
The
that way.
Catoosa WMA, I thought I'd heard it proposed that we were gonna not let any overnight, or put a limit on overnight stay on that. I didn't see that in here. I didn't know if it was, you or Kirk, either one should.
And if, yeah, great, if you'd use the microphone.
I'm Kirk Miles, Wildlife Program Manager in Region 3. Is that the overnight camping, Commissioner Bledsoe?
Yeah, I just didn't see that.
Oh, that'll actually be by rule. Is that tomorrow? That'll be by rule, and Richard Kirk will be presenting that tomorrow.
Gotcha. I just didn't see it.
Yes, sir.
Make sure it was there. Thank you.
Great, excellent. We'll go to public comment. Welcome.
Now, Vance, I didn't mean to look at you and have incentivized you to get up here and have a problem.
Thank you, Chairman Woodson. My name is Vance Bivens with the Tellico Mountain Barn Board Club. And it's been our understanding that in regard to the hog operation, I've been watching for this and nothing has been said about it, so I'd like to ask the question. If the farmers throughout the state has a problem and they feel that their only solution is to get some groups of dog people in and help them with their hog problem. Has that been changed, or is that permissible? Can anyone answer that question?
And, Mr. Bivens, I appreciate that question very much, and I'd like to ask the agency, the most appropriate personnel with the agency, to clarify at least the rule currently, if we could. Chief Radjack, that'd be very helpful.
It was not brought up as far as a proclamation because there is no change in the rule. It's more or less a internal policy procedure. And what has been developed is these landowner exemptions can identify individuals that can assist with that. And the way the proclamation currently states, our director has the ability to allow other means. And so the internal change that the policy, it's going to be called emergency agricultural exemption. And this would allow a landowner that has damage being done, what it requires is a site visit by the officers to verify that damage is being done by hogs to the agricultural entities, and then we can issue an exemption that would allow the use of dogs.
Excellent. So individuals who would be interested in this need to contact who
Contact
within
us.
their
and-
region?
Yes, and we actually have issued one already, I believe. But there's no regulation change or anything. We had the ability to do it, and so it's a procedural change in which someone calls and is experiencing that type of damage, and we have the ability to issue an exemption that would allow the use of dogs.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Mr. Bivens,
Yes.
does that answer your question
That's one of
adequately?
them. Can I ask another one?
If you could, you hit me.
Thank you very much. Being as the agency is in such a good mood today, and they take in consideration of what the hunters asked for, as a hog and bear hunter, I'd like to ask the agency to move that word eradication from our WMAs and the counties of where that we previously hunted hogs with dogs, and let's go back to the word hunting, and instead of that eradication. Now, in the in the Cherokee WMA this past year, there's been a drastic reduction in the hogs, and we have an idea of what's been going on, and I told the commission that we'd battle this issue until from now on, you know, and and we intend to do that. But anyway, to give you an example of the dramatic decrease, there's 4 party dog hunts up there, and on a normal party dog hunt, there is 4 different parties. On any given hunt, one party normally kills anywhere from 3 to 7 or 8 hogs per hunt. That's a 2-day hunt. And this year, we noticed that something had really happened to the hogs up there. And so on the 12th day, our group finally killed a hog. And I asked them, I said, when you take that hog to the checking station, be sure you find out how many hogs have been harvested. And so when they come back, they told me that their checking station, they told them that no doubt a lot of the hogs had been taken out to some of the other checking stations, the county checking stations, and said, but that's the 4th hog that has been killed, and that was the 12th day of hunting up there with dogs. And so that tells you how much damage has been done to the hog population. But we've got a training program going on, and and there has been seen some stuff that's went on, and I have talked to the person personally, and so we'll find out what's going on and take care of that problem as time goes on. But another thing.
Could you clarify what you're saying? It kind of sounded like take care of something. Could you clarify what you mean by take care
Well,
of?
get the evidence of what actually has been going on, what's been going on with the hogs.
Hopefully
so-
they're trapping them, and it sounds like their agency's doing a good job of lowering their numbers, which is still
They-
our goal.
Well, we think that up there, it's the Wildlife Services. And, but anyway, there's some things that, of course, trapping is one thing. And you read in the publications and stuff of what's been going on, or what can go on, what has been approved. And, but anyway, they've got a product out now that's called Hog Gone. It kills the animals that partake of it, and once they go to water, then they're dead within 1 to 3 hours. And so, you all familiar with that?
Does the agency use this product?
There's no toxicants legal in the United States.
Has the agency ever used these on wild hogs?
No, absolutely not.
I say we move on to the next part of your discussion.
They're using this in the state of Texas. There's 6 states that they're using it. I'll give you this.
Thank you. And Mr. Bivens, greatly appreciate this. We'll just kind of continue keeping the comments moving forward so we can.
Anyway, I'll just let it go at that right there. And I'll try to get you if you'd like to talk with me, well, you can get it. The agency has my phone number and everything. But anyway, that's all I have to say about it right now. But we'd like to get this hog deal changed back and stop this dispute about, doing away with the hog hunting in the state of Tennessee. And we have plans for this next year to continue on and fight this battle and try to get the hog hunting back. We spent a lot of money on hog hunting, and we think the way to do it is, control, not eradication, because I don't believe you'll ever be able to control them. And you all know what, I do know the second time in McMinn County, just recently, the helicopters have been back down there. And so that situation is very bad, and we've always said, the hunters have said, that you'll never be able to get rid of the hogs with hunting them out of the helicopters, because there's a vast difference in hunting in Kansas and in the mountainous area of Tennessee. So we say that will not work, and the agency will be spending a lot of money on that, and hopefully they'll come to realization one of these days that we'll stop that and we'll go back to hog hunting and control that way. And if the hog population starts expanding, then increase the hunting opportunities. And the agency can make money on it, and the hunters can have a lot of fun, and it won't cost the agency a lot of money, as far as of course, it's not costing them any money anyway with these grants and things like that. But this is fixing to change, and the Wildlife Services funds was cut, as far as I know, it was approved $101 million this year, and then they come along and approved another 6 years of diverting the fishermen's money, the tax money, and give another 6 years of grants and things like that. But this is fixing to change too. And so this battle will just keep on going on. And I'd like to ask this agency let's get this battle stopped, and let's get back to everybody having fun and not wasting a lot of money. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there any need for clarification? Excellent. Any other members of the public would like to comment? Excellent.
Okay. All right.
Next,
Any other?
sir.
Yeah, okay, all right. I assume we're done with all the those. Just real quickly on our what's traditionally called our National Wildlife Refuges, but we're adding in additional federal lands at this point. Really no changes at all in our federal, our waterfowl refuges, just simple date adjustments. The one thing we are looking for as the bear season on the plateau, as recommended, if that moves forward, early on, Big South Fork, and then the Scott State Forest, which is entirely enclosed within Big South Fork, is not interested in participating this year, but will probably open up next year. So, but at this point, they'll probably have a closure early on, and then join it next year. And that is, I believe, all we have for our National Wildlife our NWR recommendations.
Any questions? Commissioner
I've
Cox?
got one that's unrelated to what you presented. Somebody asked me a question, and I thought I knew, but evidently I don't. Is it legal now to hunt deer out of a vehicle as long as that vehicle is not under power and moving?
Okay. You're going to address, okay.
Okay.
Okay. And with that, I'd like to turn it back over to Darrell, and he's going to have one last prompt.
Chief Radijak.
This, I promise, will be the quickest, and this is the last proclamation that our Wildlife Division is in charge of, and it will be Proclamation 1408 for next month. It's in regards to Rankin Wildlife Management Area. Rankin is already proclaimed as a WMA. We simply need to change some verbiage to incorporate some new lands that were incorporated into Rankin. I won't even bother reading it. It's in your proclamation book. But it's just to encompass all the lands that are now consisting of Rankin Wildlife Management Area. And we'll be presenting that for passage as well. At this point in time, that concludes all the proclamations that the Wildlife Division is in charge of. I'm going to call up Steve Nifong, who is our Assistant Chief of Law Enforcement, to present the last proclamation of the day, and that will be the Manner and Means Proclamation.
Welcome.
Thank you. Very good. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the Commission. I'm here today to talk about the manner and means of hunting. Basically, this covers the legal weapons, ammunition, shooting hours, and some miscellaneous regulations dealing with hunting in the state of Tennessee. Thanks to your guidance over the past few years, we've have a very limited amount of red ink this time. I think we're getting better all the time with what we need. So I'm going to scroll down through here and hit the red ink parts for us as we go on. One quick addition, we clarified in the waterfowl section where we added size T or smaller shot. That reflects questions that come in. We get over to the trapping part. We had a gentleman call last year that had seen a dog-proof trap on YouTube involving a spring or something he wanted to try to make. And we used to list all of the various dog-proof traps that were legal. We went away from that as they expanded in number. So basically what we've done this year is we have said that commercially available dog-proof traps are legal for trapping. So when we get down to the big game check-in, we've got a couple of additions here. An issue that our officers ran across last year when we made some of the changes in our check-in procedures dealing with mobile app, whatever, is that they found some big animals out in the field that had already been put in coolers and whatever. It's very easy for the hunters to check them in on the app and do whatever. Made it difficult to determine the sex and whatever. So we added a section that while the hunters of field, the evidence of the animal sex, species, and antler status, if applicable, must remain with the animal while it's a field. So until you get it back home, the officer has to be able to tell what it is, basically. The next one, dealing with bears, a couple quick nomenclature things, but we had a request from the public last year, had a gentleman that wanted to do a backpack hunt in a remote area up in East Tennessee, and was concerned if he actually killed a bear up there, how he was going to get it out, whole or whatever. And the regulation used to state that it had to be either whole or field dressed. So what we have done is we've changed it where if a bear is quartered or boned out, the total of the meat, hide, etc., must equal or exceed 75 pounds. That way they can, if they kill a large bear, they can bone it out, but they've got to bring out at least 75 pounds. That addresses the issue that we do not allow the take of any bears under 75 pounds. So if they come out with 75 pounds of product, we know that we're not dealing with that issue right there. And then one other section at the very bottom, we had a couple instances with some of the new check-in procedures last year where our officers felt people were not being totally correct. We used to have a section on the check-in where they signed at the checking station that the information they gave was correct. That's no longer possible with the mobile app. So it puts in us a violation in the section to provide false information during the process. That means if you have killed a buck and you check it in as a doe, it's an automatic violation, confirms that for the court. And when you complete the check-in information, whether you're on paper or electronic form, the hunter is affirming that the information is correct. And this addresses Commissioner Cox's question. The first part of it deals with vessels. It cleans up an issue we had with a statute a long time. Where hunting is allowed from vessels, legal to hunt from any vessel so long as the vessel not under forward motion, we've been telling people this for years, from any influence from mechanical means or sail. And then this does reflect the change from last year. On private property, it is legal to hunt from any motorized vehicle, to include ATVs, golf carts, etc., provided the vehicle is stationary. Nothing in this subsection 1 shall be construed as authorizing hunting from a vessel, automobile, or other motor vehicle while under power. Nothing in the subsection permits hunting from or across a public road of right-of-way. We get questions every year from the public where people that are not disabled to the point where they meet our wheelchair-bound provision, but they're limited in their mobility, they call and ask, can I pull my truck up to a cornfield or green field or whatever and sit there and wait for a deer? And when we get this question and we've got to give them the legal answer, and in years past the answer was no. If you were in a $12,000 UTV, a Rhino or something like that, you were legal, but if you're in your pickup truck, you were not. Get the same question, you know, my kid can only hunt this morning. He's got football practice on the juvenile hunt. This is the only time he can hunt. It's been pouring down rain. Can I take him over there and sit in the truck and see if a deer will come out? And unfortunately, the answer before has been no. You would not be legal in doing so. So this clears it up, but it gives nothing from the ability to hunt from a vehicle, even on private land, that is moving. So you've got to be stationary, basically using the vehicle as a blind.
Okay, if it's stationary but the engine's running.
Stationary. You can turn it on and warm up, do whatever you wish to do. And then I believe the last thing is we cleared up where we were on the exemption, where for the remainder of that day's hunt went away on the taking of hogs on it. So this allows taking of hogs throughout the hunt. And that concludes the changes to the manner and means. I'll be happy to address any questions you might have.
I just want to make a comment on the vehicle proposal. That just doesn't feel right to me. I have a month to think about it, but that's my opinion. Any comments from members of the commission or questions? Commissioner Bledsoe?
On the, when you're skinning out a deer or whatever, I can't remember how the wording was on there, but what, I mean, on a doe or whatever, I mean, I've boned them out or whatever, you just need a slick head or the
You need to be able to
reproductive
prove
parts?
what it is.
Okay.
You need reproductive parts, and
Okay.
if you're saying it's a antlerless deer, you need to be able to prove that
Okay.
it's got
That's
less
what-
than 3 inches of antler or a slick head. So
That's what I was,
head and reproductive parts, you'd be good, and you could bone it out.
okay. Thank you, sir.
Anything else?
Okay.
Okay, wait.
Commissioner Stroud,
I'm gonna
my
leave this
sincere
alone.
apologies.
She looks over people all the
I'll ask tomorrow. It's not that important.
Any other questions? And with that, unless there is further business, thank you all so much. These presentations were excellent, and I appreciate the commission's time and attention today. Without objection, we're adjourned.